Hi guys, with the recent EU crackdowns on illegal movie websites, I believe it is more important than ever for me to educate people on the topic of online piracy. I suggest you watch Mental Outlaw's video, but just to recap, EU and primarily Italy launched a campaign that seized about 100 websites and raided 29 home servers, partaking in distributing illegal content, and 11 arrests were made. In the end, the EU made up some absurdly unreasonable revenue loss from piracy to justify their actions, but what can we learn from this as individuals, and should we be worried about repercussions from piracy? In this video I will go over 3 different ways of pirating and how they work. I will list online movie sharing as the first and most common one, and the one that got raided. They are the type that you encounter when you type name of the movie free online HQ. I will not risk angering the algorithm by giving specific names, but it really makes no difference since they are all the same and really easy to find. They provide a way for you to not spend hundreds of dollars on subscription services, but there are some things that you need to look out for them. They have very aggressive advertising, which is the hot singles in the area and congratulations you won an iPhone type of stuff. But for that you can just get an ad blocker or even better use a Brave browser that has ad blocker built in. But if your country made arrests on people watching pirated content online, you should either use a VPN or Tor browser. But that should be very unnecessary for 99% of the people. Also, don't download anything from these websites. The movies should just be played like a YouTube video without any additional downloads on your machine. But now, what if by some miracle every government in the world collided and shut down every illegal movie sharing website? Would that mean that the piracy is impossible now? Well, no, not even close. That would just mean that the normies would have to learn how to torrent again, which is the second type. Now, being born in the Eastern Europe, I have been taught how to pirate games since I was 8 years old, but I know that other people have not been so lucky, so I will give you some important information on it, such as how does it work, why was it used, why is torrenting less prominent now, and most importantly, why it is never going away. So, first of all, torrenting is just a way of sharing data. It is not inherently illegal, but it is most often used for sharing pirated content. Torrenting is a peer-to-peer network, meaning that it does not use a dedicated server for sending files to users like movie websites do, but instead relies solely on the users to provide data for other users. Users that have files are called seeders, and they give those files to users that request them, called leechers. Users that only have the file in part can be leechers and seeders in the same time, and are sometimes called peers in the context of torrenting. Seeders can send files to multiple leechers, and leechers can receive files from multiple seeders. I will not go too deep into technicalities, but torrenting protocols and programs are well optimized to handle people with different internet speeds sharing files simultaneously. Files that are partially downloaded can be saved, which is a big advantage to browser downloads, which will cancel the whole download if the internet breaks for a single second. Some old school people might use uTorrent or BitSpirit, but today the most used and recommended one is QBitTorrent, which I also use. Torrenting was originally used for sharing music back when that was a big deal, since the internet was very slow. It would take quite some time to even download a 3 megabyte audio file. And also at that time the internet was quite unreliable. It would constantly break, which made downloading from browsers impossible. But it was not an issue for torrents since you could just pause and start whenever you want. Also, audio files have no DRMs, which made sharing them super simple, since you did not have to use cracks or other ways of bypassing DRMs, which you would have to use on games, but instead, if you send someone an audio file, it was as good as the original. It is impossible to sneak a virus to a person who is downloading music, since they can just preview the torrent and see if it has non-audio files. So to simplify things, .exe, .bat, .cmd and .dll files have no place in your music downloads. Torrenting games started gaining more prominence bit later on and required bit more technical knowledge in most cases, since music file could not really be a virus. But with games, you would usually have to recognize trusted pirates or see which torrent had more seeders, as well as having common sense to recognize that the whole GTA 5 could not fit into a 10 megabyte torrent and similar. And in the end, the game would hopefully work as intended. So, if torrenting is amazing, why do fewer and fewer people know about it now? Well, because there are more convenient alternatives. If you want to listen to some song, you can just go to YouTube or Spotify and listen to it and even get similar songs recommended. If you want to watch a movie, you can just type movie name free online HQ or get a subscription to some streaming service. If you want to play some game, you can get it cheaply on a Steam sale or maybe even free on Epic Game Store. As Gabe Newell said, the way to get rid of piracy is by making more convenient ways of buying games, or in this case, acquiring medias. But there are bad trends in these industries going on, with YouTube adding more and more ads and fighting ad blockers, which makes listening to music less convenient. But that pales in comparison to movie companies, making more and more exclusive deals with streaming companies, which makes consumers who previously had to pay Netflix $14 for basically every movie and every TV show in 1080p, now have to pay hundreds of dollars across multiple Netflix clones for the same thing, often with ads. Well, games have technically stayed the same price for a long time, usually $60 on launch, and became even cheaper due to inflation, and became more convenient because of Steam, Epic and game stores. The game industry has started adding a lot of untold costs, of which the worst offender is the infinite DLC model, in which the game is released bare bones and has enormous price on their DLCs, with the titles such as EO4 costing $375, Sims 4 costing $929, and the total cost of Train Sim costing more than my friend ChatGPT is able to count. So $2,664 if I was able to calculate that much correctly. Some games are not able to be bought and played in a legitimate way, which goes from the publisher not wanting to keep the servers on, and still not allowing the public to host their own servers, which is a hotly debated topic, all the way to publishers like Nintendo not allowing their older games that they no longer sell and don't plan to sell in the future to be emulated and played in any way. So, if you want to play those games, the only alternative is piracy. Now that you know how torrenting works, it's time for me to explain why no government, no alphabet organization will be ever able to take down torrenting. And for this I will use the example of the perhaps most known website, Pirate Bay. Pirate Bay has been created in 2003 and has been the bane of Hollywood's existence ever since. They took down the site and got it back up in 3 days. They locked up the owners and took down the site again, but this time dozens of copies got online. To answer how is that possible, we need to understand what Pirate Bay is. And the answer is basically a 90 megabyte Excel sheet. Pirate Bay works similarly to a search engine, where you just type the name of the files you want, and maybe even the category in which they belong, and Pirate Bay gives you a magnet link for their torrent. So just imagine an Excel sheet containing 3 things per item: name, category and link. Unlike YouTube, Steam and other services, Pirate Bay proves downloads via torrenting, and the only part that is actually required for a server of Pirate Bay to dispose information is just those 3 things, which are very low intensive on the resources. Which is the reason why the whole website takes so little data, and of course the website does not have to provide bandwidth for the downloads. So any user can easily download Pirate Bay and upload it, so Hollywood and other giants have basically given up on trying to take it down, since it requires much more effort to take it down than to get it back up. Amazing thing about torrenting websites is the fact that there is no large body that tells you what you can and cannot do. The creators of the Pirate Bay made the website on the premise of giving everyone right to free speech and right to information, no matter who they are. Torrenting is an amazing technology that has many upsides, but perhaps its biggest downside is the lack of communication. If some files need to be shared through the Pirate Bay, they need to be as easy to understand as possible, because the file creator does not have any additional means of communication with the person downloading the files. So the best thing they can do is make a README file that is going to be ignored by 95% of the people. But to our help came the third form of piracy, the forums. Don't get me wrong, torrenting is just a way to download the files, and forums can be used in the same time, but I really can't preface enough how underutilized the forums really are. And as a prime example, I will be using my favorite one that's been used for like 90% of the videos, and I'm of course talking about cs.rin.ru, more commonly known just as the RIN. I will start with a bit of the history of the forum. The website cs.rin.ru has a long-standing presence in the gaming and software enthusiast community. It was established in the early 2000s and has been evolving significantly over time. The name cs.rin.ru originally reflected its focus on the game Counter-Strike, which was a massive phenomenon in the early 2000s. The RIN likely referred to a community or a niche interest group within the broader Counter-Strike modding scene. The root domain signifies its Russian roots, so you don't have to worry about it being taken down. In the early days, the forum served as a hub for Counter-Strike players and modders, sharing mods, custom maps, and related discussions. As the forum expanded, so did its focus. It grew from Counter-Strike-centric platform into a broader gaming community. The RIN became especially prominent in the discussions surrounding Steam, one of its largest digital game distribution platforms. Members analyzed, reverse engineered, and developed workarounds for Steam's DRMs and other similar systems. The reason why this forum is so good is because it allows for communication between many people providing files, as well as communication with people downloading them. RIN is well moderated, so there is little chance that the software you'd find there is malicious. My YouTube channel will most likely be banned for the content I upload there. But I want to implement the give a man a fish and you will feed him for the day, teach a man how to fish and you will feed him for the lifetime policy, because it is scary how many people don't know how to get this stuff for free and instead resort to giving greedy companies hundreds of dollars a month. So I encourage you to go to the RIN. If you don't speak Russian, don't worry, your browser can translate it into English. Go to the forum about Steam games and search for the games you want. You will most definitely find something you want there. Teach yourself how to do this before your only option becomes giving hundreds of dollars a month to greedy monopolies. Thank you for watching, hope you found something you like here, and see you next time.